The day bison graced your village was the most important day of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.
Episode 373. Before we start the show, we want to thank all of our wonderful fans who have supported us. And if you want to show support for the Rated G Network, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/RatedGforGamers. You can also find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and X, formerly Twitter, at Rated G for Gamers. And finally, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate all the love. I'm your host, Dave Rattino, and this is my co-host, Dan, the podcaster formerly known as Classic Robinson.
X is going to give it to you, man.
There you go. X is going to give it to you. There you go. There you go. R.I.P. the GOAT, DMX. All right? From Chi-Town.
Was that like episode 120 or something?
Even earlier than that, man. It was like episode 9, I think. Come on now.
X is going to give it to you? Yeah, I know. I remember that. Well, Listen, what's going on, man?
I'm still reeling with the name change from Twitter, but
it's weird to see like some people you could tell last minute they changed to Twitter the tweet the bird to the X. Is WWE last night had the blue bubble that popped up, the blue outline bubble with that X. It's the X right there in front of instead of the bird. It looks so weird. It was like somebody probably last minute was like, "Oh, we forgot to change the whole thing." So I wonder if next week
it'll be black on white or white on black. Yeah.
That'll be funny to change to see.
Crazy. That's crazy. Well, you'll be happy to know, Dan, that I started watching the Twisted Metal TV series.
It's about time, man. I think that show was
awesome. What do you mean
awesome.
It's about time? It just came out like last week. Get out of here.
It came out 2 weeks ago. It's about time, man.
All right, whatever. It's good. It's good. It's good. I like it.
It's so good. It's so good.
I like it. Yeah, they managed to make it work so far because it's a post-apocalyptic car combat video game. Like, it's a bunch of people that come together in like a Street Fighter style world tournament. Or I guess in the first one it's like the United States, then it's a world tour in the second one. But all these like combatants put their life on the line to win this tournament hosted by this dude Calypso, right? And they haven't even gotten to the tournament part yet, but like that's the bit you have to go off in the video game. There's some slight backstory when you start up your character, and there's some weird endings, but that stuff is like bananas. And they made it work. Made it work.
The show that they purposely made the apocalypse happen in 2002, so they could still have 90s and early 2000s references.
It's
right.
It's great. There's Cisco and Len and all these other like songs that you probably forgot about from back in the day. It's great.
I did forget they did mention that they did have a song that was like more of a modern song, but they just didn't say anything. They just paid no attention. I forgot what song it was. It was like that wasn't pre-2002. That was like a 2010 song, but I guess it fit the scene, it fit the world, so they just put it in. I forgot what song it was.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how many anachronisms are in various movies and video games and you know whatever else, just because it fits. Yeah.
But I like the nod, and this is not spoilers because it's the first 3 minutes of the TV show. When it first comes on, he's riding around in the mall. And then he crashes into something, and then he had the Twisted Metal game.
It slides across the windshield, and he's kind of looking at it like, And it's the long box version, too. It's the OG long box version. So they and it looked legit. I don't think it was CG, right? I think they actually...
No, it was legit. No. Well, it definitely wasn't CG, but I don't know if it was a replica or an original.
Yeah, because it looked in really good condition, but it was definitely a physical.
It's probably a replica. It was probably a replica. It looked really good.
Yeah.
Really good condition.
It's pretty solid. They kind of take the post-apocalyptic universe and put a layer of comedy over the top to kind of like add some levity to it. Otherwise, it'd be a little hard. And then now you're going deep drama and deep action, and you have to hit on all cylinders. You throw some comedy over the top, you can get into wacky situations, and like the comedy will get you through. So I think that was a good idea.
Well, essentially, you have these outposts like Far Cry. You have all these like outposts where people live, and you have the milkman, who does all the deliveries because all the outlaws, all the criminals are like on the outside world. So if you want to do any type of like trade with other outposts, you need a milkman who can go through the terrain, go through all the evil people that are outside the outpost to make the deliveries.
And so far,
which I thought was ingenious. I thought it was like an ingenious like story
for sure.
Like, that whole thing,
for sure.
Like you're a milkman, and why did they say milkman? Because milk spoils.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, I love the characters they brought in so far. I don't want to say who just yet because I'm on episode 5 now, so best left that to the viewer when they see it. And I know you told me that there's more coming by the end. Like there's going to be some more reveals to it. So very excited.
Well, there is I don't know what episode it is, but it is an episode. I'm not going to go too deep into the trenches, but there is an episode where they do make a pit stop, and it's just in that whole episode is a whole bunch of characters from all the games that are there that you can point out. Right, like if you and there's some deep cuts in there too. So if you're a big Twisted Metal fan, you can like pick some deep cuts out. So
nice.
And then the last episode is one of the best episodes.
I'm waiting on.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm waiting on my boy Preacher and Mr. Grimm. I want them to show up, and don't give me any hints or whatever if they're going to show up or not. I'm pretty sure Mr. Grimm is going to show up. He's iconic. I mean, he's basically Ghost Rider riding around on a car with a side saddle, or not a car, but like a motorbike with a side saddle. Yeah, super cool. So
at least one of those guys will definitely be there.
Okay. Speaking of things, we finally saw. Jesus, Dan, you finally saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3, all right?
Yes.
I should be like, finally you saw that. This was like...
It just came out in theaters 3 months ago.
Yeah, Dan. Oh, at least 3 months ago, if not 4 months ago. It's been out forever. I've been wanting to talk about it.
And now it's out on
Disney. 2 weeks out. Come on.
And now it's out on Disney Plus. Well, first of all, Twisted Metal, I think it's been more than 2 weeks, but we'll keep it at that. Maybe 3 weeks.
Whatever.
But it's finally out on Disney Plus. I watched it. It was awesome. It was great. Better than 2, which was a low bar. Not better than 1. 1 was still the best one.
Yeah, the first one's always the best. Yeah.
Like, well, debatable. Some people think Godfather 2 was better than 1.
And Terminator 2, yes. Those are the two
2.
biggest outliers for sure. Yeah. I don't it's so weird with The Godfather because when Mario Puzo wrote the book, 1 and 2 is the story, right? 3 we don't talk about. 3 was some cash grab or whatever. But 1 and 2 is the whole story of the family and all that, and the rise to power and all that. But it's funny because you can't necessarily... Can you have The Godfather 2? Can you just watch The Godfather 2 and not watch the first Godfather? Or does the first Godfather add all of this stuff that then elevates The Godfather 2? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, A, does it work on its own? And B, is it as powerful as it is if you just put 2 in a bubble?
I think you need to see the first one for the second one to make sense. Just like Terminator, right? Like Terminator, if you watch Terminator 2 on its own, it doesn't make sense to you if you've never seen the first one.
Right.
The second one is just a great action movie, but it doesn't tie anything in. You don't get it, right? And to be honest, I did see Terminator 2 first because
Right.
when Terminator 1 came out, I was like 2 years old.
Yeah.
The first one came out, what, in 84, 83, right?
84, and then 1990 for the second one. Like, it was a long
Yeah,
time period. So,
yeah. Well, I
see,
was 8 when the second one came out, and I didn't see it when it first came out. I saw it on a VHS a year later when I was 9.
yeah. Oh, it's wild. I love that movie. But that's something nobody ever talks about, right? It could be a better movie on its own, but you have to give credit to the first one that sets up the story and adds all these things, and then part 2 takes it to another level. So,
Well, okay. I'm gonna tell you another one. They both. Dave would say they both suck. But Star Wars Episode 2 is better than Star Wars Episode 1.
oh, I vehemently disagree.
What?
Because you can as bad as Jake Lloyd is in the first one.
One is the worst Star Wars movie ever.
As bad as Jake Lloyd is in the first one, you can kind of excuse it because he's a little kid. I can kind of let it go a little bit, right? Because I mean, they're not going to be like
The movie. Okay, wait. So forget about Anakin. Okay, just Anakin in general. Forget about Anakin. The movie itself, the plot, the story, other than the Jedi battle with the Sith, right? Qui-Gon.
Oh yeah, Qui-Gon and Darth Maul. Yeah.
Qui-Gon. Listen. Spoilers for a 24-year-old movie came out in '99, right?
That's right.
Liam Neeson, met his death. He died in that movie. Other than that scene, if you take that part out, that movie is trash. I'm sorry.
The pod racing scene? Come on now. And it did start to set up some stuff. I mean, like
the game was great. The game was great.
Oh,
the game was greet.
There are websites online that have put together a movie order called the Machete Order of watching the original 6. I don't know how 7, 8, and 9 fit into it. I think they're kind of their own thing. But they say start with 4, go to 5, then you get the kind of Luke Vader reveal. Then go back, skip the first one because the first movie is inconsequential.
There you go.
I know. Go to episode 2, episode 3 to see Anakin's rise to power as Darth Vader. Spoiler. And then see episode 6, so you save the Luke and Leia reveal till the end. And you end with, in arguably my favorite, and I think the best of the series, Return of the Jedi. Love it.
Yeah. Again, that proves my point. They tell you to skip the first one because the first one sucked.
I can't stand Hayden Christensen as a
you're a hater.
As a young adult.
A
hater, dude. That man, you could put a 2x4.
Episode 3 was great.
You could put a 2x4 plank of wood in the place of Anakin, and he would do a better job. That plank of wood, by comparison, would win an Oscar. That's how bad Hayden Christensen is. I'm sorry.
First of all, in the video portion here, we should have clips of episode 2 with just a plank of wood in the place of Hayden Christensen.
Oh yeah,
so people can see.
Yeah, and a little like thought bubble. I hate sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere. All right.
Yeah.
That's an iconic line from that movie. Oh.
All right. First, I'm not saying he's the best by any
terrible.
means.
He's not even good. He's not even on the board, Dan.
He's okay. He's the 2 letters. He's O and K. Okay? He's okay.
No, he's terrible. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We have to reinvent the Dave scale and add a new category below trash.
Well, at least we get 5-point scale then. At least we get a 5-point scale.
But then we would at least be able to chart Hayden Christensen on his acting ability. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So I didn't think he was that bad. Well, first of all, episode 3 I thought was great.
Episode 3 was pretty good. Yeah, episode 3 was
I loved episode 3, okay?
Best
Hayden Christensen in all in episode 3 was great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your hate for Anakin aside. Episode 2 was a better overall movie
Agree to
than
disagree.
episode 1.
Agree to disagree.
Then episode 1. Then
Agree to disagree.
oh, listen. Watch episode 2 with the plank of wood the whole time in front of his face. Okay, it's still a better movie than episode 1 was.
Episode 2 doesn't have Liam Neeson, man. He's a fantastic. Ewan McGregor, I love him too, but Liam Neeson is the GOAT.
The man with special skills dies. The man who fights wolves with his bare hands dies.
He got a raw deal. I'm sorry. He got a raw deal. That's not his fault.
All right. Well, you know what? The Movie Order website agrees with me. They tell you don't even watch the first one.
That's right. The Machete Auto chops out the extra fat.
There you go.
Which I haven't done yet. I do want to do. I want to see how that kind of plays out. But anyway.
All right. We have an awesome show this week. Coming up, we're going to talk about the Red Dead Redemption debacle from 2K. Well, from Take-Two, sorry. And we're going to bring back an old segment. We're going to resurrect the segment we haven't done in, talk about X is going to give it to you. That's probably the last time we did the segment. Right? Over 200, 300 episodes ago. Before we get into any of that stuff, let's begin the show with WrestleQuest, which was the theme of our last episode 372. It came out when the game was supposed to come out, which was August 8th, but it was delayed. At least the console versions were delayed until August 22nd.
Yep. So I'm still doing the review for it. It is a very long game, so bear with us. But there will be a review up on the website detailing everything about the game. So very excited to get that up. But in terms of the PC version, there was a patch update that came out that fixed all of the issues that I believe are plaguing the console versions. These things happen, obviously. They couldn't get the patch out in time. It's understandable. So now they're just kind of pushing it out a little bit to give themselves a little bit more time. And then you'll be able to play it on everything, even the Netflix gaming platform. So sit tight. I will say that so far the game is really good. If you're a wrestling fan, if you're a JRPG fan, if you're just a video game fan in general, I think you're going to enjoy the game. So,
well, WrestleQuest, they put up the X sign, which in wrestling means a real injury. Like, this is not a storyline injury. So when the referee goes like this, they try to do it. They try to do it subtle and quick. The audience, because the audience is hip to everything now, right? So they know if it's like a real injury or like a fake, and they can't really do that, in storyline. They don't want to do that to to throw off the audience. So they'd be like,
Right. And then I guess that's a signal to the wrestlers to kind of like, let's go ahead and wrap this up real quick, pin them, or like do the thing and get the match over with, or.
So when Stone Cold got hurt in SummerSlam, he almost he broke his neck or almost broke his neck. He couldn't move. It was just, they told Owen, rest in peace, Owen Hart, hey, he can't move. So Owen, plays to the crowd because he's a heel, right? He's playing to the crowd. They give Steve some time to see if he can wiggle his fingers and move. And, then he said finish, and it was the worst roll-up in wrestling history. It was the worst roll-up in wrestling history. But yeah. I mean, SummerSlam, talk about SummerSlam, the one that just happened, Bianca Belair, she got thrown over the top rope and hit the stairs, and she did a brilliant acting job because I thought she was really hurt. She was like yelling and screaming and crying, and no one threw up the X sign. So I was like, kind of,
all right.
Because I was like, no one said the X sign. They were just like, come here. And I'm like, is she really hurt? Is this storyline? And they started to take her away, and I was like, okay, well, maybe she's, maybe she's really hurt. And then she limped back to the ring. I was like, all right, she's not really hurt.
Nice.
This is not a Mick Foley moment where they really did throw up the X sign when he got thrown off the Hell in a Cell and then he limped back to the cell.
Yeah, that was bananas. That was Undertaker and Mankind, right?
Yes, yeah. Hell in a Cell, 99.
Yep.
Yeah, 99.
Yep. That's iconic, man. They made a meme out of that thing. I mean,
yeah.
Even if you don't know wrestling, yeah.
He thought he had a booger hanging out of his nose. It was his tooth that went up his gut.
Yep. That man got beaten up. I mean, I love Mick Foley because like he's lived to tell the tale, written a ton of
crash
books
dummy.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, and he came out the other side, so good on him. Good on him.
So, all right, I can't wait to play. I haven't played it yet. You've been playing it for the site. I can't wait. Hopefully, to play it on the Switch, and I'm excited to jump in. Another game I'm looking forward to playing is 30XDX, which was that Mega Man style roguelike game that we saw at PAX, right? That also got delayed because that was supposed to come out the next day after
That's
Wrestle
right,
Quest,
August 9th.
August 9th, right? But just like Wrestle Quest, the PC versions out. You could play the Steam version 1.0 is out, but the Switch version, I think it's coming out to all consoles.
I thought
maybe
so,
later
yeah.
on,
Yeah.
maybe later on. But the Switch version has been delayed TBD. They said that they thought they had more time during the Nintendo process. Because when you do a game, you have to go through the process of whatever that platform holder has to get through the checks and bounds for the game to be on the platform.
You need the Nintendo seal of quality.
Yeah.
Got to have that gold
so they
stamp on there.
They need some more time for that. They haven't put out, it's TBD, they haven't put out a release date, but I can't imagine it being, unless there's like a bug that they're not talking about, I can't imagine it being, too much longer. Maybe sometime in September, early October.
I just want to note these last two stories, Dan. All right. PC Gaming Master Race. I'm sorry. PC Gaming is the best. The only place that you can play these games is on the PC via the Steam store. All right. I'm just saying. You really want to play WrestleQuest, and I know you will love this game. You can only play it on PC right now. If you had a Steam Deck, Dan, or you had a PC, if you let me build you a PC, like I said I was going to do.
Well, I'm partially there. I have a monitor, right? So there you go.
Partially?
I have a monitor. You need a monitor. When you have a PC, you need a monitor. I got a monitor.
You need a display screen, yes, but I mean,
yeah, there you go.
That's the easiest one of the things to get.
Well, I have that, so I'm partially there.
There you go. There you go.
I took one step on the staircase right there. I have a monitor.
Hey, he's still sitting at the bottom playing with the train. Come on.
I have two monitors.
You gotta get up with the big boys, Dan. Get to the top.
I have two monitors. Yeah. Screw you, PC players.
All right.
All right, Dave. As we always try to start the show, but epically fail, what have you been playing?
I have been playing the storied franchise, the video game legacy that is Gran Turismo. The latest version, GT7, was a birthday gift from my friends Joe and Pete. Very thankful. Shout out to them. They play in VR, so they have the headsets and the whatever else. I don't have the VR headset yet. Still a great experience with that. My friend Pete has a whole racing rig. He literally has like
an arcade.
He essentially, he's got like the steel body frame. I don't know if it's steel, but like he's got the frame that you sit in. He's got the pedals. He's got the real racing wheel that you can like attach and detach with all the buttons on it. It's amazing. Like his setup, I've definitely played in it a couple of times. It is wild, especially when you're about to hit like a wall or like spin out and whatnot. Your body like tenses up because like everything is there. Like you look around and like you can see behind you. You can see out the windows. All of the dash is like fully modeled, and you get that when you're not even playing in VR. But in VR, you can like bend down. And you can see your dude with his hand on the shifter. Like every time you go from like first to second to third, he's doing the proper patterns and all that. Like it's wild. So I love it. I love Gran Turismo ever since the first one. It's really cool. I do have to say, and this is gonna turn quickly into a gamer grief. So talk about bringing back old segments. Gran Turismo 7 is a very nice package. It does carry through the presentation. There's a certain feel to Gran Turismo, and if you play it, I know you played a couple of them. You know that feeling, right? When you boot the game up and it's got that like smooth jazz in the background, and you see everything's like nicely laid out, and you get all like all the brandings everywhere. There's always like,
all right, you can stop buttering me up. Hit me already. All right, just what's your grief with the game?
Okay, so presentation's great. The way it's all laid out is great. The general progression is the same as it ever was, more or less. You except now you have a cafe, which is your hub. and there's a dude named Luca. There's a bunch of people in the game. There's these little heads that pop up, right?
Luca Doncic is in the game.
Nah, I don't know who that is, but it's definitely not Luca Doncic.
Yeah, Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban's,
No.
number one player on the Dallas Mavericks. Luca Doncic.
He's an old Italian dude with a beard. A very nice.
Okay,
dude.
no.
But he
He's
runs
definitely not
the
Italian.
Luca ends up running the cafe. There's a bunch of other people, but Luca's really your guy. And you're supposed to follow, like, you go to the cafe and you get your marching orders, right? To progress in the game, Luca will give you a book and he goes like, fill out the book, and like he kind of runs you through all of the different features. Is like, oh, first off, we're going to get you introduced to the game, right? And it's okay. And you do a bunch of the basic stuff, and you get your license. You get a basic B license so you can start racing. And then he goes, oh, well, we've opened up the used car lot. You can buy used cars. You can use your credits for that. And then eventually you unlock multiplayer and the missions and all this other stuff and like photo mode. So that's like really cool. I like all that. I think that's all cool. The issue comes into play with the way they structure the pricing, right? And I've mentioned this before, right? This is a single player game. First, it does have a lot of cool multiplayer stuff. You can set up your own rooms, your own races, set up your own competitions, whatever else. There's a lot of really cool things you can do in there. You can go head to head against one person, or you can jump in with I think up to 16 or 15 other players and do like these big races and all that. That's all like super cool, but the pricing of the cars is the thing. And the reason the price of the cars is so extravagant, and it doesn't really apply to the old school used cars. They're all like sub 1 million credits, which isn't hard to get, especially in the later races. You can buy pretty much any of those. It's the luxury, high-end, sport, exotic, not road legal cars, right? Your kind of McLaren F1s and, the Ford GT40s and all that. Like these really like high-end, the like Bugatti Veyrons and the Lamborghinis and all that, like the high-end stuff go for multiple millions of credits. And to get some of these cars requires you to grind a lot. So much so that if you really want these cars, they're basically forcing your hand to buy, DLC or microtransaction credits or whatever in the game, right? It's annoying. It was never this bad in previous GTs. I can speak for GT Gran Turismo 1 through 4. You were able to play the game at a decent pace, and you were, able probably like within a week, if even that, to get a super luxury car, right? If you saved up and you did a couple of races, you would get money and you'd be able to buy a car. Or you could just do a race. You do one of the marathon, 20 lap or 99 lap races, and you'd be guaranteed to get like a special car. Or you do like one of the tougher race challenges or whatever, and you'd be guaranteed to get like a 1 of 4 car and whatnot, right? Now,
can you not do that in this game? Can you not do a really super tough, race on hard mode and beat it and get one of these luxury cars?
Well, for some races they do have you can get 1 of 3 cars from it, and you choose like a random card, and then that's the car you get. There are some like guaranteed prizes like that, but I don't think you're going to get those for the super, super high-end luxury cars, right? Because, and maybe there is a way to do it, but it's very oppressive to get there. It's very hard to get there, right? It becomes not fun at that point. Because, you're just sitting there doing the one race that gets you a ton of credits that doesn't take that long over and over and over again with the one car that you've worked up a lot. It's annoying. Annoying.
I'll play slight devil's advocate because I do agree that it can be egregious. And I also do agree, maybe not make it too egregious, but do have a paywall there for people who don't want to grind at all. Like me. I don't want to grind. I'll pay for it.
That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine if you want.
But I will.
Yeah.
But I'll play slight devil's advocate where you're like, in previous games, you play for a week and then you unlock it. Yeah, those are older games. The more we go, the longer it's going to be. So my PS2 era Gran Turismo, yes, it'll take a week. We're at PS5. It's going to take you 5 weeks now. Okay,
Well,
it's never going to be a week again. Those are old games. It's never going to be the same
but that's only
as it was before.
That's only to get one car. The enjoyment level and the amount of things that are in the game from, let's say, from like GT3 till now, the amount of cars in the game, I should look up how many cars are in the game, but GT3 had 300 cars, I believe. I think GT4 had 400 cars. That's a hell of a ton of cars. You still get all the enjoyment and everything out of the game. You still have fun with it. You know, just getting the one car doesn't end your Gran Turismo. You play as long as you want to play. There are other specialty cars to get. Sony is still releasing more and more DLC car packs and whatever else. They're adding new content to the game. Almost on like a weekly basis. They're making updates and whatever else.
Just so you know, GT7 has 481 cars.
Okay, so that's more than GT4.
Which they should have, because it's the newest version.
Well, right, but like making one car somewhat affordable isn't gonna end your experience any earlier. There's still a ton to do. I mean, you now have online multiplayer, which GT4 didn't have. You know what I'm saying?
If they take away the paywall, would you feel better?
No, because it would still be super oppressive, and it would be even more of a reason for them to reduce the only reason they're doing it is because there's an online currency that you can buy with real world dollars. That's it. They want to make that. They want to make that more appealing, and that's the way they do it. I mean, it's a business move through and through. It wouldn't affect the game if they reduced
what if they did?
Credit price.
That would prove you wrong if they didn't have a paywall and they said this is a game since it's online. They want you to play. Listen, gone are the days where you play and take the game back. They want you to play for 9 months, 10 months, a year, 2 years.
It's got enough content,
which is enough time for you to unlock all 481 games if you're continuously playing this game all the time.
I mean,
and that's what they want.
Honestly, I don't think you'd get there because even when you get the car, you can upgrade it with all these parts, and there's there's basic like sport parts, racing parts, all the way up to like. There's like 5 or 6 categories of parts. So when you're done with a car, maxing it out, like there's just a lot to do. And you wouldn't not do that, right? You definitely would want to upgrade your car and make it the best it can be and rev it up to the highest horsepower and take it online and dominate. So
and Forza's had something similar to this as well.
I was about to bring that up. It's not just Sony that's doing it. I mean, it's a ton of companies, but the best other example is I want to say Forza 5. I think 6 and 7 had it too. I think they may have corrected the issue. It's not as bad in
Forza Motorsport, to be correct, not the Horizon games.
Right,
correct?
right. They're similar games, but I think they fixed the issue by the time they got to Horizon 4, where if you bought the car, you would get the car. I remember in Forza 5, the launch title for Xbox One, when they started doing the DLC stuff, you would get a pack of 5 cars, but what you're buying is the opportunity to spend in-game credits to get the cars. So, like, the McLaren F1, let's say you wanted to play as that car. When you buy the DLC, now it pops up in the shop, and now it's like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million credits. If I'm going to spend real-world money on a thing, just give me the damn car. All right? What am I spending money on, right? It's like, you know, you don't want to sit there and grind it out to get the car. I want to play with the car. The car is the content, right? You know, it's not fun to do, you know, the prog track over and over again, the 2-lap prog track, and get a little bit of credits and a little bit of credits and a little bit of credits. So a week later, you're like, oh, I got the thing now. Like I disagree with that.
The car is not the content. The race is the content. This is a racing game.
But you want to race with the
You
car.
want to get used.
You want to race with the new car you got. You don't want to. You don't want to grind it out on the same track.
You want to get used to the track and perfect the track because you have to get used to the curves in it.
If you're already looking at the DLC stuff, you've played the one track which you found out gives you the most amount of credits 1,000 times already, and you're not going to do
now
a
you
variety.
Want to master all the tracks. I disagree.
But you're not going to do the tracks that don't.
Cars are less of appealing to a lot of people. I mean, the cars are appealing. Don't get me wrong. They are appealing, but they're not. No, I disagree. The race is the thing. The tracks are the thing. The cars are good too. Yes, but I want to learn. I want to master each track. I want to learn how to race and get number one.
Well, then, no one would buy the DLC in that case. You know what I'm saying?
No, people would buy the DLC. People do buy the DLC. People like the cars, but
you want to.
The cars are less important compared to the race, the track. I'm not saying they're not important. I think they're less important compared to the actual racing in a track.
If that were the case universally,
I said less important, not important. They are important.
But if that were the case universally, they would put out DLC packs with a bunch of new tracks, and they usually release the tracks for free. That has been the case in the Forza series. I'm not sure about GT 6 and 7, where like really that kind of came into play. But
no, I'm not saying cars are not important. I'm not saying cars are not important. But I tell you, I think a lot of people like the racing aspect of it. They like the track, to get used to it.
That's like the core part of the game. But like you want to race.
That is the game. That is the game.
Yeah, exactly. But you have that already. You know, you have that already. I don't know. It's not great. There was a lot of backlash. I don't know what Sony.
I got 1 million credits. I got 1 million credits. I got like 1 million credits or a free car, whatever my choosing, that we had to redeem at a certain time because it was for early adopters that bought the game when it first came out.
Yep.
So I definitely redeemed. I definitely redeemed my credits. Okay. So I got in and got redeemed my credits.
One thing I will give Sony credit for, and it is the fastest car in my livery, is that because the Gran Turismo movie is essentially here. I don't know. I don't think it's out yet, but it's like coming out real soon.
It's out at the end of the month, but some reviews are coming out now.
So you can watch the trailer in game, which makes sense. I mean, it's the splash screen and all that. Oh yeah, of course. I mean, come on now. It's like it's ingrained in the game at this point, which I have no problems with. Promote. If you watch the trailer, you get a GTR, which is like 711 PP performance points or whatever. It's my fastest car, and you get it for free when you watch the movie. I'm assuming the GTR Nismo or whatever is like
nice. I got
in the game. So why would they not put that car in there? So
now I got to pop in. Now I got to pop in Gran Turismo so I can connect that to my account. Okay.
Yep.
Now you give me a reason to.
And I think you can short circuit the trailer early and get the car, so you don't even have to.
I'll watch that. I'll just watch the trailer. The trailer is like a minute. Come on. You take a minute.
It's like 2 minutes. It's like that.
Okay, well, 2 minutes. If you ain't got 2 minutes to watch the trailer,
my 10 million credits to get my one supercar.
Well, guess what? Now you're getting a supercar. You're getting a really good car that's in the movie that you can use to use. Now you can use to race. That you can use to grind. It'll help you grind.
It is definitely a very good car. All right,
it'll help you grind. Well,
so
I don't.
What have you been playing, Dan?
I don't have any gamer griefs with the game that I've been playing. If anything, it may be nominated for a game of the year for me at least. I don't know if it'll make my top 5, but it'll definitely make my top 20 games of this year because that's how this year's playing out. 20 games. I beat Disney's Illusion Island on Switch. Nice. It's definitely top 10 or 5 exclusive Switch games of the year. Definitely. I beat this game. It took me about 7 hours. I played about 8 hours because it took an hour to go back since I've unlocked all the special abilities, because this is like a Metroidvania platformer. Mm-hmm. I went back to try to get some of the, because they'll have like these golden cards in these weird areas that you can't reach without these special abilities, right? Mm-hmm. In some areas you can't reach without special abilities in general, but you do a lot of backtracking, but they have fast travel in this game, which is awesome. And that's a great thing. And they have another feature in this game that I love. Whenever you hover over, when you're in the map and you hover over an area, it'll tell you how many special items are in this area and how many you collected and how many are left over. Right?
That is a modern convenience that I love. Because you're not going to get that in Super Metroid.
No, you're not going to get.
You just have to know where the thing is that you missed. Yep.
Yeah, so that's great. I said I was going to go 100% it, but after I beat something, I get bored with it. I don't like to go back, and I went back for an hour, which is big for me because I already beat it, and I went back. The story, I still don't know the reasons. I still don't know the why.
What?
But I know
you basically pressed X. You masked X to get through the story in the beginning.
I did.
Told you all this.
I did.
You got to go back and start up a new game and go. Oh, that's why.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
But I know who the bad guys are, and I beat the bad guys, and I love this game. Is like just such a different game, Metroid-style game, because it's all about defense, not offense. You can't attack any of the enemies, even when you do the boss battles. It's really you pushing buttons, right? Like they put these obstacles in your way, and you got to push these buttons, push these levers, and they put all these obstacles. I mean, each boss battle is like you gotta beat the boss like 3 times, right? And it's they put these obstacles in your way, and you got to hit these buttons, hit these levers. It is such a refreshing take on the genre, right? I don't have to really shoot. There's no gun. I don't have to hit him in the head or any of that stuff. So it's all about defense, not offense. So it's a great game. I would say definitely pick this game up if you love platformers and if you love Metroid-style games.
I do.
I would say if you like story, but I don't know what the story is, to be honest. So I would pick this game up. I mean, it's only I think it's only $40, so it's not that expensive.
That's a game that's priced right. It's a reference to a story later in the show, folks.
I mean, I would love to grind, another 7 hours of this game if it said I could play as Bugs Bunny. I would.
Bunny,
I would.
That's Warner Brothers, man. It's a completely different license.
Yeah, I know. Well, to pay for that, they make me grind for another 7 hours. That'd be great. Or I could just pay for it, $7.99.
There you go.
So, all right. On that note, why don't we take a break? When we come back, we're getting to the top gaming news of last week. All right, Dave, let's get into the top gaming news of last week. I thought the showcases were over, but they're not. The E3 showcase is extended to August. We got the THQ Nordic Digital Showcase 2023.
Yep.
We're not going to go through.
This is the Embracer Group company.
Yes.
THQ Nordic is the company everybody knows. Thousands of properties, I would say, and I don't think
they own a lot of IPs. They do. But we're not going to get into every game that they showed at the showcase. But they did. I'm going to pick out some highlights. We got the official announcement. I thought this was already official. I guess it wasn't. I guess it was more like a teaser or a leak back during PAX. But they gave an official announcement in a teaser trailer for TMNT: The Last Ronin video game. I'm pretty excited for this. This is something that I'm getting hyped now about.
The gaming community and the comic book community very hyped for this as well. This is the.
Hope they get it right. Hope they get it right.
They have to get it right. Otherwise nobody's going to buy it. But this is the TMNT storyline that everyone's like, oh my god, this is crazy. And as far as I understand it, our friend Anthony kind of broke it down. Where like Raphael is the last living turtle, and you can kind of see
Leonardo.
Or maybe it's a Leonardo. It's either Leonardo or Raphael, but there's only one turtle in the Turtle Clan left out of the 4. And in
everybody else died.
Yeah, in like the teaser trailer, you see all the you see like 4 candles, and the light from each candle keeps getting extinguished, and that's like to represent that the turtles have died, and there's only one. He is the last Ronin, right? The either Raph or Leonardo, and he's kind of got to live on the legacy and do what he's got to do. I'm super excited, even though it's still just like a teaser. We didn't really get much more information out of like how the game's going to be structured, what kind of game it's going to be, but I think excitement's pretty high. I'm definitely
No. The excitement is high, and just a quick Google search. I don't know if this is correct, but they have Michelangelo as the last Ronin. Don't know how true that is, but that would be an interesting take. Because, as the last Ronin, he's lost everything. He's broken. He's super serious, which is the opposite of Michelangelo. But, I think that would be an interesting take, because it would be like Michelangelo's lost everything. So his, fun-loving, goofy, joyful self, he's lost that. And he's now serious, super serious. Something that maybe you could play around with the story. Something that he would say maybe he should have been all along, and maybe he wouldn't have lost everything. Maybe everybody wouldn't have died if he wasn't like goofy and joyful and happy all the time. All right. And absent-minded. All right. So I don't know how true that is. I don't know what the story is for the game, but I'm excited. This is something I'm hyped for. This is THQ Nordic's biggest game, or most hyped game to date, I believe, if you ask me. So they also showed off a new South Park game, South Park Snow Day. It's a new 3D co-op multiplayer game coming out next year. So that's interesting. It's coming out soon too.
I think this game is different than the Stick of Truth and the Fractured Butthole, or Fractured Butthole. Am I saying that right? Where those were turn-based RPGs. This one looks to be a little bit different, which is cool. Had Cartman doing the narration in there. I'm excited to see what they do with it. Right?
Multiplayer game, so it's definitely not the RPG games of the past, but I kind of like the fact that they're doing something different. Like that makes sense. Don't do the same thing. We had the RPGs, we had the terrible racing games back in the day.
We had the damn the terrible Chef's Love Shack, the
that's
game.
Right.
Oh
yeah, that's right. Christ. I remember that.
Oh, they just milked the crap out of that franchise early and often. Oof.
Next game, Alone in the Dark. Alone in the Dark gets a new trailer focused on the two playable characters that you have. So that was interesting.
Speaking of Gran Turismo, it's got the dude. It's got Hopper. I forget his name, but from Stranger Things and the Gran Turismo movie. It's that dude. Yeah, he was the dude playing like the main character of the new Alone in the Dark reboot, I guess. Really cool. It's a guy and a girl. I don't know who the woman was modeled after, but the main guy with the little Stetson hat or whatever, that was totally Hopper. I'm like, oh, this looks awesome. This looks very good.
Are you hyped for The Last Train Home? That was another game they showcased.
This is definitely a me game. This is not a Dan game.
Not a game. Not me at all.
It's a wartime game. I don't know if it's World War I or World War II, but it's definitely an old-timey war. And basically, you play as a medic on a train, and you have to like help all the injured vets that are coming off the battlefield. I believe is the kind of conceit of the game, and it's kind of like I don't think it's necessarily real-timey, but like it is kind of like resource managing and whatnot, and you got to like figure out how to best allocate everything to save all of the vets or as many vets as possible. Looks super cool. Very exciting.
Then last game we talk about is Tempest Rising. It's a base building RTS game for PC only.
And I wanted to mention this real quick because this is basically you should have just called it Command and Conquer, because that's what it is. It is literally Command and Conquer.
Well, I mean they can't because they're not EA. But
well, exactly,
yeah, no, I get
exactly.
it. No, I get it.
Which is why they call it GDF, the Global Defense Force, as opposed to GDI, the Global Offense Initiative, which is the good guys in the original Command and Conquer.
Got it.
Very funny, but happy that a new RTS is coming out. Christ, I mean, it's a dying genre. So, but anyway.
All right, let's talk about this Red Dead Redemption debacle. I don't know if they can redeem themselves.
It is anything but a redemption, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the rumors, and we haven't talked about it. I don't think we talked about it on the show. It always almost made the run a show, but it never did. There was always all these leaks that we were going to get Red Dead Redemption remake of the original. And then a rumor started that it was going to be maybe a remastered version of Red Dead Redemption. But we knew we were going to get a new Red Dead Redemption game, the original, somehow, some way. And they officially announced a port of the original Red Dead Redemption game coming to the it's coming to PS4 and it's coming to the Switch only, not Xbox. Well, and with the thing that people are all up in arms of, it's because the price tag is $50.
Yeah. So it's
with all the DLC, by the way, the Nightmare DLC, just to be fair, it is coming with that.
Yeah. So it is complete. It is like, I guess, the gold version or the special version or whatever, which is good. $50 price tag and all that. I just wanted to mention it's not coming to Xbox because they already made a 4K patch for it that you can play on modern consoles, and Xbox or Microsoft is really good at backwards compatibility, so the game works with they didn't really have to do a lot of work to make it backwards compatible. So you can, if you own a copy of Red Dead Redemption for the Xbox 360, or if you buy a used copy for $5, you can enjoy all of the benefits that are in this particular port on your Xbox Series or Xbox One.
I think the digital version on Xbox is like $10, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
I could be wrong about the price, but you could buy a digital version.
And you get the free patch, right? So
yeah.
Now you look at this for a game that's, I think it came out 2010. It's a 13-year-old game that is literally, I mean, it's a port with some minor visual enhancements and on there.
It came out Christmas 2 of 2010.
There you go. Christmas 2, 2010. And you want to charge $50 for it? And you want to say, and I quote from the Take-Two CEO, that the price is commercially accurate. They're saying this is a fair market value for a game that you could already play on your Xbox One X and your Series X with the 4K upgrade patch for like $10 for the last, 3-4 years at least. And you're going to say $50 for the Switch and PS5 versions? That's commercially accurate?
To be fair, I'm not defending his response, but to be fair, this wasn't an actual public statement that he put out. This was an earnings call that he was talking to investors, where the IGN, actually was IGN, the media is on these calls too. The IGN person, actually, I forgot her name. I had her name, totally forgot her name. It was a great question. She asked about the price. And I don't know if he was ready for that question. Again, earnings call, not a public statement.
Right.
He had a generic answer of it's commercially accurate. So I just want to put it in its proper perspective. It wasn't like this was, a PR, public statement put out by the PR team or anything like that. He was on an actual earnings call with investors where he's really talking, X's and O's and numbers, which is what he was probably prepared to say. So this was sort of like a generic response to just that question and throw them off. So I just want to put that in. I just want to put that in its proper perspective. And correction, I'm looking at Microsoft Store right now. Red Dead Redemption, their original 360 game, is $29.99, so it's $30.
Why isn't this $29.99 then? I'm sorry. You want to talk about costs and porting the game and all that other stuff. Sure, but you essentially did the work already for the PlayStation version, which is the Xbox version, right? The Switch version is a little bit tougher. $30. You still gotta put it out at $30. It's a bad look.
It is a bad look.
Now, is this going to affect sales of GTA 6 when it comes out? Absolutely not. We know that through history. Even the debacle that was the GTA Definitive Edition or whatever they called it, that's still semi-broken, isn't going to affect the sales of GTA 6. You know, if you put out a good product eventually, a good enough product, people are going to buy it. So,
Well, all right. Well, the game's coming out in October, if I'm not mistaken. October or November is one of. It's coming out in the fall. So
now
I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking about buying the Switch version, but we'll see.
I was going to ask, are you going to get a copy of this? Because you already own
may
a
get-
copy of this that plays in 4K.
I know, but I kind of want to play it on the go. So this could be something I buy on the Switch. I don't know yet. I haven't committed to it.
Okay.
But a game I'm definitely going to buy that's coming out next month is Mortal Kombat 1. There was a leak of a new game mode. A Twitter user revealed that Mortal Kombat 1 will have a new single-player game mode called Invasion. And in this mode, Mortal Kombat 1 players will travel through Mortal Kombat realms and fight invasions of like each season. No other details were I want to say released because it's all a leak, but no other details were mentioned. That sounds cool. I'm already excited for this game.
Yeah.
The only thing that I want them to add in, which I know they're not going to add in, I just want them to add in the Terminator and Rambo one more time.
Oh,
just one more
back
time.
in a bit. I mean, I wouldn't say no. I don't.
Because I'm gonna play as John Cena against Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's all I want.
I don't know if they've ever actually brought a kind of tie-in franchise character back from another game, but I don't see why they wouldn't necessarily. They'd have to renegotiate because it's a new game, and you know the contract doesn't say this character in perpetuity. It says this character for this particular version of this game on these consoles during this time frame. Like there's a very specific set. I don't see why they wouldn't. They would probably go for other properties to like make it new and exciting. Like we know Homelander and Omni-Man and a couple other new tie-ins are happening. So,
how about this? Hear me out. Do the Fast and the Furious, where you could put The Rock in the game, and then you could have The Rock versus John Cena in Mortal Kombat.
oh my god!
And that would be a good trivia too. What other game can you play as The Rock and John Cena going at it other than a wrestling
That's not
game?
a WWE wrestling game, right?
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, John Cena plays the Peacemaker, who is the DLC.
DLC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is awesome.
Yeah. No. I'm saying you could do that. I don't know if you would do G.I. Joe because he wasn't G.I. Joe, but that was like 10 years ago. So I don't know if you could do that.
Yeah.
But just pick one of the Rock movies. Pick a franchise. Well, it's Mortal Kombat, right? Black Adam, DC. They could do that.
I mean,
they could do that. That would work.
As bad as that movie was, that would probably be the one because they have a history, you know. NetherRealm did Injustice, all the Injustice games. There's Mortal Kombat crossover characters on like both sides. That would probably be the one they would do.
Well, they own NetherRealm. They own the studios.
WB
so they could easily put Black Adam in the game.
Listen. So, it's not a terrible movie. It's a fighting game. The character is cool. People would want it.
Yeah. I just want to have the John Cena The Rock face off in a different game other than wrestling. That would be awesome.
There you go.
All right. So transitioning to maybe right as of right now, the number one fighting of 2023, and that's Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 is awesome. All right. Other Mortal Kombat games, well, the last Mortal Kombat game had DLC with the Ninja Turtles. This is like TMNT, Turn In TMNT show, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because you had the Dark Turtles and you're playing as, any of the turtles and fatalities and you're killing the turtles. Great. Now the turtles are crossing over to Street Fighter slightly. Not how you think, not how I want, technically. They will not be actual characters, fighting characters that you can play, which is disappointing. But you can get gear, emotes, stamps, and cosmetic options for custom avatars.
Yep.
So you can dress your character up like a Ninja Turtle. So it's not a fighting crossover, which is disappointing because I would love to see sort of like Raphael versus Ryu or Leonardo versus Chun-Li.
That would be super
or
cool.
Zangief.
Yeah.
And but you're gonna have to dress up. gotta dress up as a turtle
Right.
to play them versus those characters.
They have weapons-based fighters, famously Vega with his claw, and Abigail uses his chain for some of his moves. So,
Do you think that's why they didn't do it? You think that's why they didn't do it because they don't have,
No.
like Street Fighter is not a weapon-based fighting game. Some
No,
people
no,
have weapons that you can knock off. By the way,
I think you could make it work. They got like throws and grabs you could implement there. I think it comes down to like. Now, you're going to say like, yes, there's crossovers in the whole Marvel thing, right? Capcom and Marvel are inextricably tied. It goes all the way back to X-Men: Children of the Atom, all the way up until Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, right? They've had that crossover there. But like those games are designed to be that, like it's your Marvel set and your Street Fighter set, and then expand it out into your Marvel set and your Capcom set. Right, they've kind of expanded out the universe, but they usually don't do special DLC download crossover characters, right? I don't think Street Fighter V had anything. Any of the characters they do have are from their own universe, right? So they'll like bring in Final Fight characters. Everybody but Mike Hagar. Bring everybody else in that franchise. Typically, that's the big one because Final Fight and Street Fighter are in the same universe. Even in like Street Fighter 6, you're in Metro City when you start out, right? Even like in the history of all the games, when you look down at the plaque, it's like the first one is Street Fighter, and then it's Final Fight, which technically was Street Fighter 89. So like that stuff's together like that. But like outside franchises, like bringing in characters from like other anime properties or comics or whatever, it's not something they normally do like that. So not surprising. And I'm with you. I think it would be cool. I think they could totally put a weapons-based fighter in there and make it happen. I think you could knock the pole out of Donatello's hands and have him be able to do like grappling moves, and that would still work thematically and gameplay-wise. You could make that work.
Well, what you could do is you could have the turtles fight like without weapons, and whenever they do a special move, the special move is them pulling out their weapons to go. Yeah, like Wolverine, Wolverine, right? He pulls out the claws and does like a special claw move, right? You have the X-Men; they have superpowers, right? And they're so you should be able to use the weapons as sort of like a specialty move when you're fighting. So I could see that happening. I would love for that to happen. I don't think that's gonna happen, but the TMNT license is going strong right now with the animated cartoon, which I heard is great. We already talked about the most hyped game for THQ Nordic, which is TMNT the last Ronin, right? And now they have the sort of DLC skins and gear and emotes for the Street Fighter 6 game, which is
cool.
As of right now, the best fighting game of 2023.
Right.
We'll see next month.
We'll see when Mortal Kombat and Tekken come out.
Yeah.
And we still haven't gotten a release on Tekken, but I'm still thinking it's going to be this year.
So, all right, Dave. Last story in the docket. This was kind of funny when you think about it. And why don't more gaming consoles have this in the fine print? I'll tell you why. Because nobody reads it. Just like nobody read this on the GameCube instruction manual, where it said it said take a break every hour, even if you don't think you need it.
Yep.
Because you shouldn't be sitting in front of the TV for hours and hours on end. You should take a break and go outside and do some physical activity, and then come back in and play Mario Sunshine again.
I want to say that I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure Nintendo is the one that like kind of does this. Every now and again, you'll get a game that like will remind you, hey, maybe you should take a break and put this down for a while. Do you want to do that? I think maybe with some 3DS games, maybe some Pokemon games, or some of the like more kid friendly ones, where like kids don't realize that like they could be there for 5 hours and it's kind of unhealthy, As adults, it's unhealthy, but you're going to do it anyway and sit down for 5 hours if you have that time. So,
well, Nintendo, they're always thinking about the kids.
That's right. That's right.
They put these little disclaimers and instruction manuals that nobody reads, and they also put some type of chemical in the Switch games to make it taste disgusting, so kids won't put it in their mouth. Like, who thinks of that? Really? Who said, you know what? A kid may put this in their mouth.
Hey,
so let's put something in to make it disgusting.
It helps them out if they ever go to court. Where like my my kid swallowed a copy of Super Mario Sunshine. It's like, well, we made it taste bad specifically. It gives them a leg to stand on.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Let's take one more break. When we come back, we're going to resurrect an old segment that we haven't done in probably 200 episodes. And we're back again. Let's resurrect an old segment we haven't done in a long time, and that is the Convo of the Week. And this is something that didn't fit, the gaming news, top gaming news of last week, because this was actually a month ago. But it's a topic that we both wanted to talk about and never had a chance to.
It's important.
It is important. And that is the preservation of video games. And there was a study done in partnership with Video Game History Foundation, in partnership with Software Preservation Network, conducted for the first time a study on commercial availability of classic video games. And this study is important to show that the study was done on games that came out before 2010. And they,
right.
And they
so it's from the start of video gaming in I guess with the Atari home console up until 2010, which is when things kind of shifted to, digital downloads were a thing, and it's a lot easier to get newer games. It's infinitely easier to get kind of newer games and whatnot. So I think that's kind of an important distinction of why they chose that time period to be like kind of the cutoff.
And the study showed that it was 87% of games that are disappearing, right? But I thought it was also important to know the goal of the study was to get expanded exemptions for libraries and organizations to preserve video games, because for the longest time, industry, main video game industry lobbyists have, argued successfully to the U.S. Copyright Office that they're doing enough to preserve their own history.
The ESA, I believe, is the one who actually said that. Like, we're doing our part. We have museums and we have some stuff in the National Archives now and whatever else. But
and any additional protections, right? Any additional preservation methods would hurt their bottom line. So they wanted to prove them wrong, because I think they have to argue again in front of the Copyright Office next year in the fall of 2024. So they wanted to have a study out there to disprove that they're doing enough to preserve video games, older video games.
And they made some comparisons to the movie and music industry, where they were like, the things that are in danger or we don't have a large amount is silent movie era movies aren't really well preserved at all. I think maybe like 10%, if even that, like are still like around and you can like, get a copy and watch relatively easily. And they talked about, I think, music. I think like World War II audio archive footage, I think, was like kind of hard to come by, I think, or World War I archive audio footage or whatnot. But and they were pointing out that yes, every industry has things that are in danger of like going away and being lost to time and all that. But the references they made to music and movies and whatnot are in some cases over a century old. The video games that we're talking about are barely half a century old, right? It goes back to the 1970s, which is now like 50 years in some cases. And all of that stuff up until 2010 are in danger. 87, this kind of 87% number, right? I think it's, it's kind of important to note, and it's not a super long, it's like a 40-page study. And they
47 pages.
Yeah.
47 pages.
Oh, I'm sorry. 47 pages. It's not terribly dry, but they do go into the methodology and how they kind of like chose their set to make their thesis or point or whatever about the video games. And they came up with 4 categories for which they chose 3 of them. And then they chose a system to kind of be the example of that. And they made like a kind of 2x2. They made a 4-square chart. And it was, on one scale, it was interest level, like high level interest and low level interest. And then I think on the secondary scale was the activity for that particular console in this case. And they chose 3 consoles specifically, which is the Commodore 64, which is...
Well, they did choose 3. They chose 3 consoles, but in 3 separate categories. The abandonment, which is Commodore 64. The neglected console, which is the Game Boy family. The Game Boy family, not just the Game Boys. The family Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and then the active system, which is the PS2.
Well, it's yeah. So like the Commodore 64 is
as far as interest go, abandoned
right.
interest.
It's a low level of interest and a low level of activity. The Game Boy is a high level of interest and a low level of activity from the property owners, and the PS2 is the high level of activity and the high level of interest, because like that's now the new retro for the kids, right? Everyone growing up now, they now in their 30s have disposable income. That is now elevated, and there is a high level of interest. So you are seeing the most level of activity. And even within that, that's still only like in that like golden sweet spot is, I believe, like only 20% of those games are being elevated and brought up to modern accessibility standards, right? In terms of like, can I go online, get a copy of this game, play it relatively easy enough? Is it available online? And that's like wild, because like the PS2 is like possibly the most popular platform of all time. There is a high level of interest in there, and only like 20% of the games, right? Because like you think like, oh, PS2, like, oh, I can play my Gran Turismos. Talked about that earlier in the show. I can play all my Final Fantasies. I can play whatever. This is sure, but what about like Fantavision? What about X-Force? What about Evergrace? You know, I'm bringing up the PS2 launch titles, but there's like a lot of games that you can't play, a lot of good games that you can't play. And what are the property owners, the IP owners, doing about all of this stuff? And the answer is nothing, right? You look at a company like EA, even a company like Sony. They've got a lot of properties, or Sega, most famously with like things like Jet Set Radio. They're just sitting on it. They're not doing anything with it. Every now and again, you'll get a cameo in a game, but they're not porting this stuff forward necessarily. I mean, yes, there was a 360 version of Jet Set Radio, but that's now been delisted. You can't get that anymore unless you have the game. They brought up the eShop. There was a relatively high level of accessibility for Game Boy games when the 3DS and Wii U and Wii eShops were in business. Now that they've closed those eShops, that percentage has gone down a lot. Now, there are some
Even in TurboGrafx 16, they had it on the eShop of the Wii U, the Wii U eShop, right?
Yep.
And now you can't get those games.
No, not at all. Now, granted, there is the, I think Analog is doing or did the, like the TurboGrafx clone console thing or whatever, but that still...
Can't buy it anymore.
Right.
Can't buy it anymore. Can't buy it new. Can't buy it new. You have to buy it secondhand, and it's really expensive.
Right. Super limited run. That also takes cartridges, so you'd have to find the original games unless you want to use like an EverDrive cart with it, which I think it's compatible with, but then that means you're pirating the games and you're downloading them off like whatever website. You know, this is assuming you don't own the copy of the game already. So there's a lot of issues. And I think it's a very good report. I think the way they present the data is very good. I would highly recommend anybody to go take a look at it. It is important. As of what to do about the situation, we really just have to lobby to the government to try and put things in place to say, hey, let's catalog this, let's archive it, and let's also make it accessible, right? Because they do make the point that even if it goes in a museum and you can play it, there's interactive exhibits and all that, you have to go to that place to play it.
Well, let's put this perspective. The study had no. They wanted to be clear. They didn't present any solutions to the problem at all. They just want to present that there is a problem.
Sure.
And more study needs to go into like how do we solve the problem. So they didn't have any solutions.
Well,
in the study.
I think they may have alluded to some things where if you digitize a game, make it able to be rented out by whatever archive place there is, right? So if you're looking at the Video Game History Foundation or the National Archives in America, right? There's, you can go to Washington, D.C. and you can see a lot of this stuff and look up and whatever, but you have to go there to experience it. So like maybe you could have digital versions that people could like, I want to take this game out and get a digital version that I can use for a little bit. It would require a lot more lobbying. It would require government officials to kind of take notice, and they would need to take it on as a concern and go, all right, this is going to be part of my platform, going to make sure this stuff gets archived because it's important. It's history, video game history specifically, but yeah.
Yeah, but there is another side to this that no one's talking about, and I gotta say this.
Yeah.
This is a fine line that we have to figure out how to do properly, because if I own a game that I made, okay, and say I made the game PS2 era, right? So the game is out on the PS2. We're now in the PS5 era. I need to get paid. I put my heart, sweat, and tears into that game. I need to get paid. You can't just have it out where people could play it and have it, and I'm not getting compensated for the work that I put in. Now, I know I'm pulling on your heartstrings as I'm saying I put it in my hard work, but these are billion-dollar companies, but they still own that IP, and no one can use that IP without their permission.
Well,
so how do we have that fine line of I own it, I need to get compensated? Because that's what they're saying. They're pretty much saying any other preservation methods will affect their bottom line.
Well, okay, so you're saying...
And they want to have the right to put out a remake, remaster, or in Red Dead's case, just a port, and make and get compensated for something that they own and have the right to do, by the way.
I think that's perfectly fine. I think all this report is saying is that you can't even buy a digital version of it online and play it
because I don't want it available. Because I don't want it available yet. That's why I don't want it to be available. I may do something with it later, and I don't want you. Well, that
goes counter to the whole study, and it also goes counter to the actions of, let's say, EA, because they have a big catalog. They're not going to do anything with one of my favorite games of all time, Archon, for the Commodore 64. They did like one or two update versions or whatever, but even those have been delisted. They're doing nothing with that game. They are never going to put that game out again. Now, there's a possibility that they would, but you can make that case for any game, and then you stalemate it, right? You have to either make a concerted effort to put it out there on a modern platform, or you have to relinquish the rights or put out the source code in the way that like id Software and like 3D Realms did with Doom and Duke Nukem 3D specifically.
And that's where we disagree, because I don't have to do any of that. I own it. I can do whatever I want. I can trash it if I want. You don't have the right. What gives you the right to tell me what to do with what I own? It's my game. I made it. I can do whatever I want with it.
You now stalemate the whole argument, and now we won't move anywhere further on the preservation, because that's why I said it's a fine line.
Because that's a fine line, because they have a great argument. It's mine. I own it. I could do whatever I want with it. So we have to have some cooperation with them. You have to make it some cooperation to where maybe you get their involvement. You have to get them to want to do it.
Well, the answer
I disagree with the.
The answer is the answer is for them to put out a modern version and charge money for it. And nobody's saying that they can't do that. If you're saying, hey, you can't compel me to do that, then you have a stalemate in the argument. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't lose. they don't lose in this case. Now, maybe it doesn't make the money that they were expecting to put in the work to put Archon on a PS5 and be able to play like a classic chess variant type game, but they will get the profits. You know, they will make money off the thing. They don't have to. They're not being necessary. I mean, nobody's making any prescriptions here either. We're not saying, hey, you need to be able to like put out an open source version that anybody can play, and you have to put it out for free. Nobody's necessarily saying that. I
would say a video game museum is a fair trade-off to where you can only play it there, so it is preserved.
The giant con to that, though, is if you can't make it there, and
then you don't play it for the day. Well, then you don't play it. That's the sacrifice. You don't play it.
Well, now you get back to this 87% number. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, no, you don't, because it's preserved. The whole point is it's preserved. You have the right to play it. Make a trip, go to wherever this museum is, and play it. I would love to see dinosaur bones all the time. I don't have it in my house. I have to go there and see it.
I think we are able to go online and like see virtual tours and all that, right?
Well, you could go on YouTube and see actual video of people playing.
You can watch somebody else play the game and not get the experience.
Watch somebody else play the game. Yeah, there you go.
Could. I will say, I thought you were going to make the argument that if they compel companies to open source this stuff, that they're gonna lose out on all this money and whatnot. And I will counter that and say, with the examples of Doom and Duke Nukem 3D. This has been open sourced ever since like the early to mid 2000s. They open sourced it, and Duke Nukem is much more recent than Doom by like 3 years or whatever. They open sourced it pretty early, and they've made multiple purchasable versions of both those games. There's the 20-year anniversary of Duke Nukem, I think, and Doom
didn't do great.
Doom is available. It sold well. And it wasn't.
Nukem didn't do that great, but yeah.
No. I'm not talking about Duke Nukem Forever. I'm talking about Duke Nukem 3D.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The one from 1997. It wasn't for the fact that it was open sourced and people could like play it online and whatnot. Because some people don't want to go through those hoops to try and get the game to work and whatever with all these mods on PC, and I just want to play it on my console on the big screen. We have that. You can still buy it and play the Duke Nukem 20th anniversary. If there's a physical version of it, which I think is still being produced, you can definitely get it digitally. And same with Doom. Like I can go on my Xbox and like play Doom now. Like it's available on like all platforms. I can play Doom, Doom 2, Doom 64, even with all of the open source stuff and id software just kind of putting out the open source.
Well, but then companies like Rockstar are going to do. Well, we say, first of all, we say it all the time. They put out the GTA trilogy, right? That wasn't great, but they took the other GTAs off the digital store, right?
And that's
so they made you buy the newest version. And
that's a problem. If the new version
that's not the problem. That's the solution. I'm giving you the new version because I need you to pay money because I need to make money off of this because I don't want anybody else to put this out.
Nobody bought the new version. It tanked. That's the issue. You took away the good version of the game.
Enough.
No,
I bought it.
Yeah, but it's terrible. It's not good. Even with all the patches and the whatever else, you should keep both versions on there. If the new version was good, I would be less. It doesn't matter. They're going to take. I would be less upset about the versions.
They're always going to, if whenever they put something new out, they're going to take the old one down because they want you to buy a new thing.
That's where the government regulation could come in, and we could have laws to say, hey, look. We're going to compel you can make all the new versions you want, but you need to support these other versions. And the only reason they took it down was to force sales of the new version, because they didn't want you buying $10 to get GTA 3 separately on the Steam store, which you could up until like a week before or a couple weeks before the launch of the new game. They took it down. And now we have a subpar version, and that's the only version that you can buy now digitally, which is it's very annoying. Very annoying.
How about, would you rather them just not put it out at all and take down all the versions and say, you know what, you can't play any of it because I own it and I have the right
to do that, though,
to control it.
Because they have the right to control it. Because they were making money off San Andreas, Vice City, and GTA 3. They were still making money off that, charging $10 per version on the Steam store. The only reason they took it down is because they did the new version of it. The company would never do that, you know.
I know, but would you rather them just take it all down and say, you know what, we're going to shelve it for now, and we own it? When you own something, you have the right to do whatever you want with it. That's because I own it.
But
I can do whatever I want.
That is what they're saying. The problem is that the companies aren't doing anything with these games, and we're never going to be able to play them because of the IP.
I own it.
Well, then you'll never solve the problem. Then you can't do anything about it because they're only going to put out the most popular of the most popular games. You will only ever get Pac-Mans, Final Fantasies, and Mario Brothers games, and that's it.
Unless they feel like they can make money and do something different on that IP, use that IP.
They obviously don't.
IP and put it on something.
Yeah,
put it on something else.
We never get the classics. In the case of this, 87%. You know, based on their metrics and whatnot, are unplayable or missing. They're not out there.
So I think a solution. I'm not saying it's the solution. Well, a couple of solutions. One, I do think there should be.
It's a multi-part.
I do think they need to have like a museum because I think that's like a bigger deal museum that has all the companies. Nintendo is first of all, we keep talking about Rockstar. I know we throwing Rockstar under the bus. But Nintendo is the most egregious. Nintendo is the most egregious as far as not putting out old stuff.
Oh,
right?
Sure. I mean, I'll put any kind of you can substitute Rockstar for any company. Yeah, Nintendo is a great example. Yeah.
Nintendo is like the most egregious, but I think you need involvement for them to have this super museum that has all these games that you could play, where profits are split between, you know, all of, you know, the preservation, the actual place, and maybe, you know, the different, you know, console holders, and then you know,
maybe I don't know where the profits come in necessarily.
eShop. I know. Well, a lot of museums are donation only, but we'll see. But I don't have a perfect solution. I like that.
Even if they charged at the gate to get in, which I think is fine. The money would go back into feeding to running the thing, paying the employees and making sure the machines are up to date. Like there's a lot of maintenance that goes on with those things. But
yeah. Well, I mean, that could be a self-solving solution. That and keeping up the digital store with old games where you can purchase.
Yeah, like in the case of the eShop going down, you know, like they didn't port all that stuff forward to the Switch. You know, I get it. The 3DS is a dead platform, kind of. The Wii U, more so a dead platform. But all those games are now lost to time. You know, the large chunk of the Game Boy stuff. But, I mean, what you're saying is Nintendo can do that. They have the right to do that, and that's okay?
Well, they do. First of all, these are all facts. They do have the right.
Right, but you're not saying that's okay though, right? Like that's the whole point. Like you would want them to do something about it.
I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence with it as a business owner, as somebody who believes in I have the right to do whatever I want with what I own. I do believe they do have the right to do what they own, but I do believe they should be compelled to do something to make sure things aren't lost to time, like a digital store, like a museum. These aren't perfect solutions, but solutions nonetheless.
Well,
I mean, I think a museum is a
digital store. I think is if you're able to buy the game and play it on modern consoles is pretty good. There's a lot of technical details that go into that and maintenance and all that for sure. But I think, I don't know if responsibility's a big word, but I think there's kind of a responsibility to maintain this stuff. In the way that, like, and I'm not trying to make the comparison here, but in the way that we maintain important parts of our history, like, you know, MLK's speech. You can go to the museum and you can watch MLK, you know, stand across the reflecting pool in front of millions of people and give his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, and that's super important. And we actively put money into maintaining that and preserving that and porting that forward. You can watch it online. You can go to YouTube or wherever else. You can watch it on whatever National Archive website. You can pull up that info. You can watch it real easily, and you can experience, and you can get some history behind it and all that. The video game stuff isn't quite there. Like it's
different because it's interactive. It's interactive.
That's the
Because you
thing.
can watch those. Because you can watch those videos on YouTube. You can
Right.
watch a lot of that stuff on
Right.
YouTube. They're not the visual aspect of it is not lost.
Right.
You can any game you randomly pick a game, you can probably find a playthrough of it or a video of it online. Right. Even the games that are really lost, because the study it had a study of games from the 60s on to 2010.
Yep.
And a lot of those games from the 60s and early 70s are lost completely.
Oh yeah. No.
Right. But I'm sure you can find video of those games. So the interactive portion of it is lost, but the video portion isn't.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's a fine line. I think you have to get the first step is to show that it's missing, but I think the next thing is to get the cooperation. And that's the most important thing. Cooperation of these companies to do something to preserve it. But the only thing that companies listen, well, Dave tells me all the time, the only language companies know is money, right? So either they got to be making money, or they got to be saving money, right? So you have to appeal to them in a monetary way to where maybe they get some tax breaks or maybe they're going to be making some extra revenue, even though it may be small revenue, but revenue somehow, some way, it's beneficial to the actual company for them to cooperate, right?
Put it out there at a fair price. That's all I'm asking for, right? The ability to be able to buy the game at a decent price on a modern platform, whether it be PC via the Steam store or the Nintendo shop, whatever they're calling it, the Nintendo store, or Xbox or the PlayStation store.
You know what I like? You know what I would like? I mean, that's a cool solution too. And look, Games Pass and backwards compatibility is doing a lot to, preserve this stuff.
They
too.
are, and we should give Microsoft credit for that. Yeah.
But I would like, and this is something that just for me, it has nothing to do with digital stores or anything like that, or putting it out for fair market value. You could do all of that, but I kind of still want a museum in DC next to all the museum row of all museums. Right. And have it to where you pay one price, you go in and you can play a lot of different games. It has to be obviously a time limit on each game because there would be a line out the door for certain games. So you got to put a little time limit on it. And you can see the history of games, right? You can see the little sketches of Mario, behind a time capsule.
The National Archives do have some games in there. I think they started doing that.
On a bigger scale. Like we got the African American, museum, sort of like on a bigger scale. We got the Aviation Museum. We got the Natural History Museum, on a bigger scale.
There are museums throughout. There is the Strong Museum, I think, in upstate New York, is the thing.
But those are more on a smaller scale. I want something bigger where.
Well, now you got to get the government involved, and you have to get grants, and you got to have somebody fighting for you to say, hey, this is important. We need to fundraise money and whatever else. And I think you're right. Getting the support of companies like Capcom and Nintendo to have their support behind it.
Tax breaks.
Tax breaks. I mean, sure, tax breaks too. But like when you get those big companies involved, and like you say, hey, Nintendo, you want to go in your archives and pull out some really rare shit that we can have in the museum? Because what are they doing with it? They got pallets and pallets of shit we never even heard of before. I'm sure they have pallets of old Nintendo powers and pallets of the pre-Nintendo little handheld grabber things or whatever, or the boxing games and the whatever else. You know
what else they got? Apparently there was somebody said the Nintendo World Championship carts, the ones that are like the most expensive.
They have some more of them in there.
Yeah. They have they had thousands that they never released, they never used.
Right.
They're just sitting in a warehouse. Collectors don't want that out there, but if they did put that out there, that would completely diminish the value of the actual games that were, those Nintendo carts that were played back in the
by a bit,
in the early 90s.
By a bit. They would be non-circulated copies, non-official given out copies. So yeah, but it would certainly turn things upside down. Yeah. Well, I guess
more work needs to be done. Needs to be done.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I think they go back in front of the Copyright Office in 2024. So hopefully this will help in some way, and companies will come to the table and have some solutions.
Yeah. Well, all right. I think on that note, that is episode 373 in the books. And we want to thank you guys for listening to the show, for liking, commenting, doing all the good stuff that you guys do. If you want to interact with us, and we know that you do, you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and X, formerly Twitter, at Rated G for Gamers. There it is. So please listen, like, rate, review, and subscribe. And as always,
Keep gaming.